morning. Does everybody stand? Somebody said one time, and you've heard it over and over again, about which came first, the chicken or the egg. I had something the other day thinking about when I was mowing the yard. I thought about who came first, the mother or the child. Think about that one. This is the day that the Lord hath made, that the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. For this is the day that the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord hath made. Jesus is the way that God hath made, that God hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. For Jesus is the way that God hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Jesus is the way that God hath made. One more time, this is the day. This is the day that the Lord hath made, that the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. For Jesus is the way that the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord hath made. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this time we have to share together. We ask you to be with us through the remainder of this service. What we do and say, we pray that it will be according to your will. And Lord, we ask you to bless all the mothers here today, gathered here today. For without mothers, we would not be. And we ask you to lead us and direct us in the rest of this service. Guide us in the way that we should go. For without you, it is impossible. We think of our servicemen and women in foreign lands and all over this world who keep us safe, that we can express ourselves and say what we want to, whether it's negative or positive about our government. We can go from East Coast to West Coast and not have to go through one checkpoint. And it's all because of these men and women who are on a daily basis laying their lives on the line for us. We ask you to bless them wherever they might be stationed. And then, Father, we ask you to bless those mothers who are in service, those mothers who are serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, that their children are left here behind. Often we neglect and we think of soldiers only as men, but there are mothers who have, because they signed up long ago and then had children, they've had to leave their children. So we ask you to bless them as they are absent from their families this day. Be with us through the remainder of this blessed day that has been set aside. We know it's not a holy day. We know it's not in the Bible. We know it's not in the Scriptures. But it is mentioned in the Ten Commandments that we're supposed to honor our mothers. So that's what we're doing today in the name of Jesus, our soon-coming King. Amen. Okay, one thing about a small church, no matter where you sit, you're close to the front. Think about that. Wherever you sit, you're close to the pulpit, close to the preacher. Okay? Are you doing all right, Chris? All right. We want to let our African friends know that this day, May 13th, is the Mother's Day, set aside to honor mothers. I was going to say worship mothers, but that's not a good word. We're going to honor mothers today. And at this time, Larry is going to read a poem about mothers.
This is entitled A Mother's Love. A A mother's love is something that no one can explain. It is made of a deep devotion and a sacrifice and pain. It is endless and unselfish and enduring, coming what may. For nothing can destroy it or take it that love away. It is patient and forgiving when all others are forsaking. It is never fails or falters, even though the heart is breaking. It believes beyond believing when the world around condemns it, and it glows with all the beauty of the rarest, brightest gems. It is far beyond defining. It defines all explanation, and it still remains a secret like the mysteries of creation. A many splendor miracle man cannot understand, and another wondrous miracle of God's tender guiding hand.
Okay, Nancy. This is not for me. I gave her a dead chicken yesterday. But this is something for you, Nancy. It's a card. And I know you didn't want to stand here, but we'll make the mic fit you. How's that? Shirley likes that. Yeah. You read the card.
You a joy, a delight, and a beautiful woman to know, and a blessing to your family. Happy Mother's Day, Stephanie. Happy Mother's screen, please join us.
Amen. All together as loud as you can, I want you to say, are you ready? Greetings, Africa, from America. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Greetings, Africa, from America. Thank you.
I have one here called oil lamps. Light up the old lamp, Mother. It's time that we came in to comfort of your kitchen where love lies deep within. Light up the old lamp, Mother, way in the dining room to chase away the shadows and drive away the gloom. Light up the best lamp, Mother, for guests may come tonight, and we shall play the piano while we sing Believes This Light. A mother's way is love. A mother's way is warm and gentle is her touch. With just a hug, she says, I love you very much. A mother's way is kind, ever giving of herself. Her days are filled with riches, her children are her wealth. A mother's way is wise, her counsel from above. The dearest gift God gives is that of a mother's love.
I just want to do a little bit of a song that goes along with our lesson today, and it's pretty simple. That it's probably older than Richard, older than me, I know. It's an old song, old country song, and it's pretty simple. My father-in-law, Clyde Fogel, and his group, the Bluegrass Gospel Train in Florida, used to do it. In fact, it's on one of the records that they recorded. If I could hear my mother pray again, she used to pray that I on Jesus would rely, and always walk that great and shining way. So trusting in her love, I seek that home. If I could hear my mother pray again, if I could hear my mother pray again, if I could hear her tender voice, well then, how happy I would be, it would mean to me, if I could hear my mother pray again. Thank you. Richard, probably I ought to have one of those bulletins to see what I typed. So we can put it together. There is another verse to that song, but I don't remember it and I couldn't find the words, so anyhow, we're working on it. Megan's heading downstairs. There's possibility that, just possibility that Mason's used one of them for punching bag. He's quite aggressive. And it may not be him. It could have been Hunter. It could have been somebody else. Who knows? As we look at today, we look around and I guess on every street corner, I haven't been that way, just about every other street corner, they have tents up. I try to tell the kids that they're having a circus there, but they didn't believe it. They're selling flowers, Mother's Day. It's a big deal, and it is a big deal. And the bulletin that you've been given, it was, I put it together late last night as far as honor your mother and father, Exodus 20:12. It's one of the commandments that we're supposed to honor. Now, I know that some mothers are not worth a whole lot. They're just not. But I do believe that everybody should honor your mother, no matter what type of mother she was. Because when you look at the next line, in everything that you needed to know, mothers have pretty much taught us. My mother taught us, and a little later we're going to get into logic about medicine and to think ahead and to meet a challenge and to humor and things like that. And I'm hoping that you will, I left a little space there for you to write in the things that we've learned from our mother. But first we're going to go over to Exodus 1 and the Old Testament, and learn about the first 5 books of the Bible we would not have today if it wouldn't have been for a mother. The first 5 books of the Bible, we may still be over there in the desert, living over there, if it wouldn't have been for the mother who was responsible for the man who wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 children coming up. Here we come. Here we come. There we go. Megan's like the Pied Piper. Look at this. She's got a handful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, here we go. That's all right. Bring him in. If I can't outshout a child, I'm going to sit down. Okay? The book of Exodus, we start with the first chapter, the 15th verse. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Seraphim and Palia, when you help the Hebrew women give childbirth, observe them on delivery. If it's a boy, kill him. If it's a girl, let him live. The Hebrew midwives, however, feared God and did not want the king of Egypt to what they would do to him. So they let the boys go. As we read on, we get into the rest of the scriptures and we find out that the Hebrew midwives let the boys go. And then a little later on, we get down into chapter 2 and we find out that Moses' mother, instead of throwing him in the Nile, which the king ordered, and the reason they threw him in the Nile, every time a baby was born, they threw him in the Nile River, is because the Nile River is full of crocodiles. In fact, we wouldn't have crocodiles in America or alligators if it wouldn't have been for the Spanish people bringing them over to guard their boats down in the south end, in the North American continent, Florida and Louisiana, and the places they have crocodiles and alligators. They all originally came from Egypt and Africa. So they brought put Moses in a little basket so that he would be saved. And you all know the story. Later on, he was raised up in an Egyptian family. His life was saved, and then later on, he led the Hebrew children out of Egypt. So we're not going to bore you with a whole lot of that history, other than the fact that it never would have happened if Moses' mother would not have wanted her son saved. And the real interesting thing about it is that when he floated along in the basket, the mother watched from a distance, and his sister watched from a distance and saw the Egyptian woman, who was a daughter of the Pharaoh, pick up this baby, take it, and they let her believe that it was her child. And so he was raised as an Egyptian by his own mother, which the Egyptian woman said, I will pay you to raise this baby. Isn't that the wonderful humor that God has? So as we look at it today, and we honor our mothers, Exodus 20:12 says, honor your fathers and your mothers. Your days will be long. You'll be honored. Why should we respect our mothers? First of all, because they gave us birth. Secondly, because almost everything that we know and learn is from our mothers. Think about this. Most of you guys that are here today who are fathers, you've been off working somewhere. Now today it's true, a lot of the mothers are off working somewhere too. But at the same time, if you're like most households, when the mother comes home after working all day, she has to take care of the children, do the laundry, cook and take care of everything. And then when the husband gets home, he says, what have you been doing all day? The house looks a mess. Well, I'm sorry to say that that's just the way it goes. So as we look at what we want to look at today with the mothers, I have written down a pretty simple thing. And I think everybody can relate to this. First of all, my mother taught me logic. The logic that my mother taught me, number one, if you fall off that swing, you'll break your neck. You can't go to the store with me as well. If everyone else jumps off a cliff, would you do that too? So our mother, first of all, taught us logic. Number two, how many of you can relate to if you don't stop crossing your eyes? Come on. Is everybody alive? Your mother taught you a whole lot about medicine and health. If you don't stop crossing your eyes, they're going to freeze that way. She taught you about health. Number three, my mother taught me to think ahead. My mother taught me to think ahead. If you don't pass the spelling test, you'll never get a good job. Think about that. If you don't pass the spelling test, you'll never get a good job. Number four, she taught me to meet a challenge. What were you thinking? Answer me when I talk to you, and don't talk back. Does it sound familiar? So, mothers have taught us how to meet a challenge. Mother taught me humor. When the lawnmower cuts off your toes, don't come running to me. Mother also taught me to become a dog. If you don't eat your vegetables, you'll never grow up. Sound familiar? These are all things that we have learned from our mothers. Most of the time, your first words, and don't you, mothers, don't you just hate it when the first word, not hate, that's a strong word. Don't you just want to cringe when the first word your child says is dada and not mama? If you grew up in our house, my wife always called me Daddy. Daddy, take care of that. Daddy, take care of this. Daddy, do that. So then no wonder the first word that Troy said, and Trina said, and Megan said, and Trevor said was Dad, or Daddy. Mother taught me genetics. You're just like your father. You ever hear that? You're just like your father. Mother taught me about my roots. Do you think you were born in a barn? You act like you were born in a barn. There are several people, even in this small group, there are several people here today that have never been in a barn. Not a real barn, functional barn on a farm. There are people here, but yet there are mothers who've never been in a barn other than drive by and look at it, and they say to the children, you act like you were born in a barn. Wisdom, my mother taught me wisdom of age. When you get to be my age, you'll understand, or I will explain it all to you when you get older. When you get to my age, you'll understand. Now, not only mother have used that, I just told that to one of my granddaughters just this past week. You'll understand when you get to be our age. I've told that to a few son-in-laws before they became son-in-laws. Well, I don't know why you act like that. There's no reason we can't stay out till 2, 3 in the morning. I was a boy. And if I ever came home at 2, 3 in the morning, I was in serious trouble. But we shared it with our children. And it's passed down from generation to generation. And I've told several of those young men, one of these days you'll have children of your own, and then you'll understand why I do not want this young man to keep you out to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Because anything that's done after 11, 12 o'clock at night is not good for you. Say, oh, but we just watching a movie. Does it take 2, 3 people to watch a movie? So we learn wisdom. Mother taught me application. She taught me appreciation. She taught me how to anticipate. She taught me many of those words that start with A. She taught me how to wait. Just wait until your father gets home. Did you ever hear that one, Clayton? When you get home, then it's unloaded. You know what your son just did today? No, wait a minute. Both our sons. You know what your daughter did today? Hey, wait a minute. This is both our kids. We did this together. Well, I'm going to tell you what she did. I'm going to tell you what he did. And guess what? You wait until they get home. And then, after all of that time, she taught me justice. That's an interesting. I've already alluded to it a bit. One day, you'll have kids. And I hope they turn out just like you. Then you will see what it's like. I can't wait. There's something I pulled out of a book, and I read this, and I thought about Mother's Day. All these things that mothers have taught us, logic, about medicine, to think ahead, the challenge, as she has taught me, my roots, my genetics. You know, since my mother's passed, I don't get cards from any of my other side of the family, rarely. From a dad, a brother or two, but no aunts and uncles. I don't know what's going on in the extended family, and I have an extended family on my mother's side, which is close to 600 or 700 people, and I don't get anything from them either, since Mother's gone. Mom always saw to it that we knew what was going on, and reminded, she would call her sisters and her brothers, do you know it's Bobby's birthday? Now, Mom could call me Bobby. Not even my wife calls me Bobby. But she would call people and let them know. As maybe some of you mothers do. Those of you who are holding the little ones, one day you'll do the same thing. You will teach your child all these things. You have no idea if you're holding on your lap the next president, the next governor, the next carpenter, the next secretary, the next nurse, the next doctor. You have no idea what you're holding on your lap. But one day, Carmen, she has no idea she's even here. This is her second time here. She has no idea. And she's just sitting there just chewing on that bottle. Or actually she's not even sitting. She's laying on Nancy's lap. And she's completely oblivious to what's going on. But none of us know what Carmen's going to be one of these days. And it all depends on you mothers. That's how important your life is. That's how important it means to history. As Moses' mother chose not to throw him to the crocodiles. Moses' mother had some foresight. Just think if we were living in a day, some people think that President Bush is so horrible. Just think if he said, okay, here's what we're going to do. For the rest of the year, every girl baby that's born, throw them to the alligators or kill them. Because we need the boys. We don't need girls. We need the boys to go fight the war. That's what the ruler said at that time. Pharaoh said, kill all the boys. Another time in history, when Jesus' mother and his dad, Joseph, took him to Egypt, King Herod said, kill all the boys. Get rid of all the boys. So, again, another mother came to the rescue to save Jesus from being killed by King Herod's army. That's how important the mother is. That's how important you are as mothers today. As we read on, one day when Moses grew up, in chapter 2, verse 11, one day when Moses grew up, he went out where the people were working. At that time, the Hebrew people were slaves. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. And so he took action and killed the Egyptian. He took care, and that was the beginning of a great man, the life of a man who saved the entire Hebrew nation. Where the fighting is going on today in Iraq is where most of it began. The Tower of Babylon is there. They say the Garden of Eden is somewhere in Iraq. I don't know. For those of you who don't know, Iraq, the war has to be. It has to be the way it is right now for prophecy to be fulfilled, because that part of the country is going to be very much involved in the Middle East with heaven on earth. If you take a map of the region from the Mediterranean Sea across to Lebanon and go down to the Indian Ocean, come back across to Egypt and go back up to the Mediterranean Sea, you will see the square mileage that the Bible talks about when he comes back to set up his kingdom. That square mileage, it's as far as from here, it's approximately 1,100 miles from here to Florida. And then due west, 1,100 miles, due north, 1,100 miles, due east, 1,100 miles again. So every bit of that is prophecy being fulfilled, all set up and all put in place because of what God told the mother of Moses to do. Some of you probably will say, well, how do I know God's talking to me? You know, from time to time you got that small voice talking to you, a still voice that nobody else can hear, but there's something. And you say, I had a premonition. Well, when you have a premonition, go to this book instead of the horoscope in the newspaper. Because the horoscope in the newspaper, they're just going to tell you things you want to hear most of the time. Go to the book that has the answers. When God begins to talk to you as a mother, ask her. Ask him, not God, not her. Ask him, ask God, what is it you want me to do as a mother? As I look at these little ones sitting here, you see they're not bothering anybody. If they're bothering you, you're in the wrong place. There are too many churches where they keep them out of sight for 2-3 hours at a time. It's good that we have these little ones in the congregation today. Carmen just told me. She's whispered to me. Let's stand. I'll not have a long sermon today because I know most people want to go to be with their mothers, to have dinners, to have whatever it is you do with your mother. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the blessings. We thank you for the things that we've learned from our mother. We thank you for the mothers going by. Moses. George Washington's mother taught him how to pray. As we read the history books, we learn about great mothers. That our world and our nation today is what it is today because of great mothers. The founder, or the first president, the father of our nation, so has been called. His mother taught him the entire 66 books of the Bible. And at any time, George Washington could quote the Bible. from one end to the other because of his mother, not because of his father. Not that fathers don't have an important part, but today is the day we honor mothers. So Lord, we thank you for each mother that's here today, and we ask you to bless each one. In the name of Jesus Christ, our soon coming King. Amen.